In this lecture series on climatology, today we will study on atmospheric moisture. We know our precipitation or rainfall is the most important climatological element. In this session, we will study several important points in atmospheric moisture. We will define vapor pressure. Which is the partial pressure of water vapor. Partial pressure exerted by water vapor. Okay. Then another point or another term we will encounter generally in meteorology and climatology in atmospheric moisture variables: saturation vapor pressure. I am putting as Vp. Okay, which is the vapor pressure at equilibrium state. Vapor pressure at equilibrium state between water and the atmospheric system or atmosphere. Clear? So, saturation vapor pressure is the normal maximum vapor pressure for existing temperature. That is, for the prevailing temperature, the saturation vapor pressure I am putting here as SVP, which will be the maximum vapor pressure. Maximum Vp. Okay, and saturation vapor pressure increases with the temperature, or saturation vapor pressure directly proportional to temperature. Clear? And now from where this atmospheric moisture is coming into picture? So atmospheric moisture happens due to the process of evaporation. Now slowly we will study on various forms of evaporation. So we are getting atmospheric moisture happens due to the process called evaporation, and this evaporation or the rate of evaporation depends on several factors. The very first one is surface moisture availability. Surface moisture. Then the water vapor content in the atmosphere. Okay. Then the temperature of air as well as ground. Temperature of air or atmosphere and the ground. Okay. Then another factor, the strength of the wind. So we can see the rate of evaporation for contributing the atmospheric moisture depends on various parameters or various factors such as surface moisture, water vapor content in the atmosphere, temperature of air as well as ground, and strength of the wind. Say over water surface, what we can observe, till vapor pressure of water greater than vapor pressure of air above, evaporation, the process of evaporation will continue. Okay. So till vapor pressure of water is greater than vapor pressure of air above, evaporation process will continue. And we can classify the evaporation method in two ways. One is actual evaporation or actual evapotranspiration, and the second one is potential evaporation or potential evapotranspiration. So evaporation process can be, the first one is actual evaporation. Or we can say actual evapotranspiration, and the second one is potential evaporation or called potential evapotranspiration. Where this process of transpiration is nothing but the process of evaporation from leaf surface. Perhaps you might have studied in botany and all, that is, you have the so-called stomatal openings. Through stomatal openings, the evaporation or water is losing out, say with a rate of almost 80%, water lossage may happen through these stomatal openings of so-called guard cells. So that is the process of transpiration. So by two means evaporation takes place. One is through actual evaporation and the second one is potential evapotranspiration or potential evaporation. And now we will see separately the characteristics of actual evaporation and potential evaporation. Say this actual evaporation, this quantity which totally depends on water availability, or which is the quantity of water that actually removed from the surface due to evaporation as well as transpiration. That is first point, quantity of water removed from surface through the process of evaporation as well as transpiration. Transpiration, no doubt, it is the evaporation which takes place from leaf surface or vegetations are called transpiration. So, and this can be measured through, that is, here this actual evaporation totally depends on the availability of moisture. And this actual evaporation or actual evapotranspiration can be measured by using instruments. One is evaporimeter. So in standard class 1 surface meteorological observatories, as per WMO, World Meteorological Organization standard, evaporimeter is a mandatory one, and the another one is atmometer. And another one is lysimeter. And if you have soil moisture measurements from three levels, 30 centimeter and 90 centimeter, you can extract the quantity actual evaporation. And the another method is by using a somewhat complex technological development through neutron moisture meter. Neutron moisture meter. In that, of course, this evaporimeter is the primemost measurement or worldwide using instrument by meteorology community, evaporimeter. Atmometers, lysimeter, soil moisture measurements, and neutron moisture meters and all generally on R&D side. Research and development, especially boundary layer meteorology research and all, demands such a type of more sophisticated instrumentation setup. And when we comes to potential evaporation, here you have seen actual evaporation depends on availability of moisture, but whereas this potential evaporation requires energy. For the evaporation process, and no doubt the potential evaporation measurement or potential evapotranspiration measurement which require mathematical computation methods. By taking different atmospheric parameters as well as surface parameters, we can compute mathematically the potential evaporation or potential evapotranspiration quantity. And for this we have to use different inputs, that is inputs required for the computation of potential evaporation. For an example, because there are several methods and one method requires inputs as daily average temperature. Daily average temperature, I am putting A, and B, number of days, and the heat index, and wind speed, then pressure, F, solar radiation. Of course, solar radiation should be the primemost or the most important one, since the potential evapotranspiration requires energy, but whereas here the availability of moisture. So by using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 measurements, direct measurements, we can compute through one mathematical method that I am not going to discuss here. That and all we will see in operational meteorology chapters. We can compute potential evaporation or potential evapotranspiration. And now what we have to see, the character or the comparison between actual evaporation or actual evapotranspiration and potential evaporation or potential evapotranspiration. All the time we can see the actual evaporation will be greater than actual evaporation. Okay, I must use AE will be greater than potential evaporation, I am putting as PE, over oceans. Okay, over oceans actual evaporation will be greater than potential evaporation, and actual evaporation less than potential evaporation in deserts and steppes. Okay, because you know actual evaporation totally depends on availability of moisture. So here surplus availability is there over oceans, but whereas in desert and steppes, what we can see, availability of moisture is almost nil moisture, is it? So the potential evaporation, we know it totally depends on energy, but there is surplus energy in desert area and steppes, and thereby potential evaporation is greater over deserts and steppes because of nil moisture or nil water supply, but whereas here ample water supply. and if you see between 10 degree south to 10 degree north, evaporation over land if you take generally evaporation over land will be greater than evaporation over oceanic area. And now we will study the latitudinal variation of actual evaporation and potential evaporation. So, say I am starting from northern hemisphere 90 degree, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40 degree north, 30, 20, 10. I have reached the equator, then 10 degrees south, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90. This represents the southern hemisphere and this represents the northern hemisphere, and here I am putting the potential evapotranspiration or actual evapotranspiration in centimeters. So 20. So like rainfall, this evaporation also will be measured in centimeters or millimeters. So 40, 60, 80, then 100, 120, 140, say 160. This I am putting as in centimeter, or that is actual evaporation or potential evaporation on y-axis, and here latitudes. What we can see here, (22, 30). 10 will come here, and the second one 10 to 20 will come here. What we can see, this will be the structure of actual evaporation, that is around 10 degree to 20 degree both in southern hemisphere as well as in northern hemisphere. What we can see, there is a hike in actual evaporation as well as potential evaporation. Of course, if you see the trend, actual evaporation, this bold line represents actual evaporation and this dotted one represents potential evaporation. And if you see in both hemisphere, northern hemisphere as well as in southern hemisphere, what we can see, around 10 degree to 20 degree, 10 degree to 20 degree in southern hemisphere also, there is a hike in maxima occur in both potential evapotranspiration as well as actual evapotranspiration due to trade winds. This hike is attributed to trade winds. In the earlier session, we have studied about a trade wind. Of course, this trade winds, that birth of trade winds are taking place from subtropical high. Actually, the subtropical high will be located here, and the trade winds are originated from there, and so thereby trade winds area will have a contribution of highest actual evapotranspiration as well as potential evapotranspiration. And in the totally, that is from 90 degree north to 90 degree south, the another characteristic what we can observe is all the time potential evapotranspiration will be greater than actual evapotranspiration. So this we have to keep it in our mind. This characteristic of or the comparison between potential evaporation as well as actual evaporation, their variability in latitudinally. And now we will study some little bit more about moisture variables. That is, in order to define the moisture variable, we must have several measured parameters or several measurements or several computations from measurements. So we will study on moisture variables. So we are going to study different moisture variable. The very first one is vapor pressure. Already you have seen about vapor pressure. It is nothing but the partial pressure exerted by water vapor pressure, and it will be measured in or unit millibar. The second one is specific humidity. So all these parameters here it will be represented by gram per kg. All these parameters we will study in descriptive sense in climatology, but whereas mathematically we will express in physical meteorology. So when I am taking class on physical meteorology, but at the same time you keep all these descriptive sense definitions in your mind, and we will go through different mathematical treatment in physical meteorology. And the third one is relative humidity. So this actually the climatology here, okay, it will be relative humidity will be expressed in percentage, and climatology mostly it will be of descriptive type. No doubt, of course, there will not be any mathematical equations of that much concern, but whereas we will see mathematically both in physical meteorology as well as even in dynamic meteorology. Okay, that is in theoretical meteorology, and then only we will get more concrete idea about each parameters. That is, okay, no doubt this is what we are going to sense on human beings, but at the same time there we will express all these what we have sensed here in climatology in a mathematical fashion. Each parameters, how it is getting formulated, that we will study only in physical meteorology or in dynamic meteorology. So specific humidity, relative humidity, and the another one is dew point temperature. That is fourth one. Dew point temperature TD, and the fifth one is precipitable water vapor. Okay, so moisture variables can be expressed by different ways. One is through vapor pressure expressed in millibar, and specific humidity gram per kilogram, relative humidity in percent, dew point temperature. It is generally represented as T subscript D, and unit degree Celsius, and the precipitable water vapor, it can be millimeter. Okay, so now we will see one by one. The very first one is vapor pressure. So already you have seen vapor pressure, which is the partial pressure exerted by atmospheric vapor, water vapor, and vapor pressure and in meteorology generally it will be denoted by small e, and this computation, that is vapor pressure, can be computed by inputting, that is mathematically vapor pressure can be derived by inputting dew point, then temperature, then relative humidity. So there is a method for the computation of vapor pressure by providing inputs dew point, temperature, and RH. And vapor pressure follow temperature, or vapor pressure directly proportional to temperature. Already you have seen saturation vapor pressure is directly proportional to temperature, or vapor pressure in generally what we can see, vapor pressure generally, or vapor pressure directly proportional to temperature. This also we will see the latitudinal variation of vapor pressure. Say here okay, so again I am starting from my northern hemisphere, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. This is in the southern hemisphere, and here northern hemisphere we have our equator here, 0 degree equator you have. So what we can see, if you take on an average, what we can see, this here, this is the vapor pressure. I am putting as Vp. Already I specified it will be measured in millibar, and this is 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. So this will be in millibar, 4 millibar, 8 millibar, 12 millibar. This order of values you have to keep it in your mind. So this is important, because in your generally if you are specifying about the pressure and all, it will be order of 1000, or even you can call as 990 millibar, or 1000, or 1012 millibar and all. But while computation as the so called vapor pressure, it will be of this order, 4 millibar, 8 millibar, 12 millibar in atmosphere. So what you can see, somewhere in the 10 degree north latitude it will maximize around, I am putting as, so already we have seen the variation of vapor pressure follows temperature, and here on this is the mean curve. This mean curve, vapor pressure will maximum, it will have around 10 degree north. And now we can see what will happen during the extreme months, that is January and July months. So July months, what we can see, this will be okay. This will be, that is around 20 degree north, it will maximize. And whereas in January month, the variation will be so this curve will represents, that is somewhere in the 5 degree south, it will have maxima during January. So this is the January curve, this is the July curve, and 20 degree north in maximization will take place in July, that is extreme months. Sorry, January. So this is the small dotted line represents the January, and the bold one or the thickened one will represent the mean structure of vapor pressure. This will be the structure of vapor pressure variability latitudinally. And now we will see certain characters of vapor pressure in different seasons. What we can see, over a latitude, vapor pressure in summer will be greater than vapor pressure in winter. Okay, and already you have seen the general property, vapor pressure directly proportional to temperature. And in diurnal variation of vapor pressure, oceans have diurnal variation, that is nothing but 24-hour variability. What we can see, oceans have minimum over oceans, minima will take place during early morning, and maximum will take place in early afternoon. Okay, and the land, this is the case of ocean, and if you go to land, what we can see, it will have 2 maxima and 2 minima. Vapor pressure, if you take, say I am taking from 0 local standard time, let it be 6 o'clock, then I am putting 12, then 18 and 24, every 6 hour increment I have made here. What we can see, first temperature minimum will happen somewhere around 6 o'clock or just early morning, and the maxima will take first maxima will happen somewhere in forenoon. Okay, and the second minima will take place somewhere here, and evening hours you will get the main maxima. So this will be the trend. Okay, it must join here. So some more it is elevated. So this will be the structure of vapor pressure over land. This is local standard time, let it be. Okay, so this will be the first minima, and where this happens, first minima happens during temperature minimum. Okay, T minimum, and first maxima here. First maxima takes place in the forenoon hours okay, and the second minima takes place, this is the second minima takes place at temperature maximum, and the primost or main maxima, this is the main maxima that takes place during evening. So this is the diurnal variability or diurnal variation of vapor pressure over land. You have seen the oceans will have only one maxima and minimum, but whereas here two maxima and two minima over land area. And now we will study the second expression of moisture variable through specific humidity. Already you have seen specific humidity will be measured through gram per kg, and it will be expressed by, in meteorology, it will be denoted by small q, specific humidity. It will be expressed by small q, and it can be computed by mass of water vapor divided by total mass of moisture air. Total mass of moist air. So here also, for the computation of Q, inputs required through a mathematical method or through an equation which demands dew point. Now I need to put as TD. Already you know dew point can be expressed as TD. D is subscript, and the atmospheric pressure. The atmospheric pressure, and you know it can be measured through your barometer, station barometer. Okay, and now the another moisture variable is relative humidity. That is the very important moisture variable. Temperature and relative humidity and pressure, that is pressure, temperature and humidity, PTU. Those things are the prime most importance in meteorology, or that is the main measurements from a surface meteorological observatory. Now the relative humidity okay, generally I am putting as RH, no doubt. Just now I was telling PTU, it will be expressed in capital U, okay, in meteorology, and it is nothing but can be defined as vapor pressure already you have seen. It will be expressed by small e divided by saturation vapor pressure. I am putting as Vp only, that is E subscript S, and it will be expressed in percentage, that is you have to multiply with 100, or it is nothing but also equal to specific humidity just now you have seen. It will be expressed by Q the whole divided by saturation specific humidity. It will be expressed as Q subscript S. Okay, so and no doubt the relative humidity, for measuring relative humidity there are various instrumentation setups. For example, Whirling psychrometer, okay, and Assmann psychrometer, ASSMANN psychrometer. No doubt this Assmann psychrometer, it is a classical. Now slowly it is becoming somewhat obsolete even from the world of meteorology, and this is the classical instrumentation, Assmann psychrometer, and the hygrograph. And in you will see in atmospheric instrumentation hair hygrograph, and the another one is the electronically you can measure through humicap sensors. That is, this works on the principle of variation with respect to capacitance, humicap sensors. So from these sensors, Whirling psychrometer and Assmann psychrometer, from here you have to use two types of thermometer. One is a dry bulb thermometer, another one is a wet bulb. After making the so-called achievement of this wet bulb temperature, okay, by doing whirling, and here Assmann psychrometer, we have to, through a mechanical system, we have to make the process of whirling, and thereby we have to achieve the wet bulb temperature. That is by using dry bulb temperature and wet bulb temperature, or dry bulb thermometer and wet bulb thermometer kept at Whirling psychrometer as well as Assmann psychrometer, we have to depend on psychrometric tables, and then we have to determine the value of relative humidity. At the same time, from that table, dew point computations also, or dew point derivation also possible. Okay, psychrometric tables, both by meteorologists as well as mechanical engineers, especially air conditioning people, demands this Whirling psychrometer specifically. Okay, but for 24-hour observation, of course, we have to depend hygrograph or HumiCap electronic sensors, or for automatic logging or autographs. And these are regarding the measurements, and what we can see in general, the relative humidity is directly proportional to 1 by temperature, 1 by T, or RH is having indirect proportionality with to temperature. RH is 1 by temperature, and the rate of evaporation. So another point what we have to keep it in our mind, rate of evaporation is inversely proportional to humidity. Okay, and when no evaporation, if you are seeing no evaporation means when RH equal to 10%, 100%, at that time there will not be any evaporation. Evaporation stops. And like earlier variables, we will see the latitudinal variation of relative humidity. Okay. So I am taking again, I am depending on x-axis I will put latitude, and y-axis I will put RH, and it already you have seen it will be expressed in percent, and here I am putting 90 degree north, 80, like my earlier graphs I am generating here also, 40, 30, 20, 10, I reached equator 0 degree, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and 90 in southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere. Okay, so here on y-axis I am putting, let it be 60, this let it be 70, and here I am putting as 80 and 90 maximum 10%. Okay, so what you can see, it will have such a type of a variation. So okay, first I will draw the mean curve. Okay, somewhat in this fashion the variation. Okay, so what you can see, the here around 30 degree north as well as in south, you can see the lowest relative humidity, and the highest one we can see largest value at 0 degree, that is at equator. And here you already you know this 30 degree both side northern hemisphere as well as southern hemisphere is characterized by subtropical high pressure region, or I am putting as STH, subtropical high. Here also subtropical high, and what you can see, this area that is between 60 to 30 degree, slowly it is dipping. here also what you can see from 60 degrees south towards 30 degree where the center of the subtropical high pressure is located, slowly it is dipping down. Here also it is dipping down, attributed to zone of westerlies and low temperature. This is the reason of both here as well as here zone of zone of westerlies and low temperature. The same fashion here also, zone of westerlies and low temperature. So because of that only you are seeing such a type of a dip when you are approaching towards equator or approaching towards subtropical highs. Okay, so maximum will take place or largest value of humidity you will get over your okay, of course even you can put more than nearly average value of 80. Okay, let it be. And near equator, near or at a 0 degree, and there will be two minima. One is at a 30 degree in the region of subtropical high, as well as 30 degrees south in the region of subtropical high in the southern hemisphere. And if you see this is the general pattern of average relative humidity, variation latitudinally. Of course there will be extreme months, the variation will be, I am putting here as July month variation, say somewhere here. Okay, this dotted line will represent July, one extreme months, and the second one, and I am putting as with the dot. This will be for July. Okay, this will be for January. That is, the small dots will provide the variation of or the latitudinal variation of relative humidity in January month and July month. What we have to keep it in your mind, that is on the mean structure we will have two minima specifically in the region of subtropical high, and when from the 60 degree north as well as south latitudes towards equator, what you can see, there is a dip towards subtropical highs contributed by or attributed by zone of westerlies and the low temperature. So that is the one main point what we have to keep on the variation or the latitudinal variation of relative humidity over the globe. So now some general characters again we will see on relative humidity, that we can see relative humidity between 0 to 30 degree in summer will be greater than relative humidity between 0 to 30 degree in winter, that is summer relative humidity is having high value. Okay, and now we will see what will happens in the annual variation. Okay, annual variation over continents. Over continents, what we can see, relative humidity during warm season will be less than relative humidity during cold season. That is our general trend of relative humidity variation or inverse variation with respect to temperature is holding very systematically here. Okay. Okay, and this is the case of over continents. But whereas if you see over oceans, we can see the one characteristic of RH is, that is delta RH, or the variation of humidity is very low. Okay, that is over ocean the relative humidity values are almost everywhere, or over a wide area or a vast area it will have almost the same value, or the differential of humidity will be very low. And another one what we have to see is, in annual variation, say over monsoonal type of climate like India, what we have to see, especially the peninsular Indian portion, monsoon type, what we have to see, what we can see, maximum RH okay. So maximum RH during the summer monsoon. Of course, this maximum RH is due to summer monsoon or the summer monsoonal winds. You have seen in my earlier lectures the characteristic of monsoonal winds and all. And if you take the topographical or orographical variation, what you can see over mountain or mountainous terrain, what you can see, RH in summer it will have greater value compared to RH of winter. So in mountainous terrain, say if I am having a mountainous terrain, RH during summer, you know, in summer there will be excessive insolation or incoming solar radiation, and thereby the air parcels are going up through the turbulent exchange of water vapor due to turbulent of water vapor. This will make upward, that is it will climb up, that is from the plain area or the lower terrain. Through insolation the turbulence will happens, and the turbulence contributed by insolation or incoming solar radiation or excessive insolation during summer compared to winter, and it will slowly through turbulent eddies or turbulent exchange of water vapor, which takes place towards uphills, that will contribute more relative humidity in mountainous terrains compared to the winter terrain over the same place, over the same mountainous area. Okay, so this turbulent exchange of water vapor, the excess, the RH relative humidity over mountainous terrain due to turbulent exchange of water vapor is an extensive area of research. Okay, and now what we have to see, diurnally, already you have seen relative humidity, of course it is indirectly proportional to temperature. So diurnal variation with respect to temperature, you know, there will be, that is, over any place there will be maximum temperature, minimum temperature, depends on the temperature variation, relative humidity will act accordingly. So because you have diurnal variation, of RH, since RH indirectly proportional to temperature, so what you can see, RH is maximum in early morning. RH maxima will happens during early morning. You know, at that time only the incidence of the temperature minimum, around that time only temperature minimum takes place, and RH will have a minimum in the diurnal variation during early afternoon. Okay, that is just prior the incidence of temperature maxima. Okay, especially this is a prominent feature, that is just prior the, even if it is a coastal region, you will have the mesoscale meteorological system like sea and land breeze, that is just prior the onset of sea breeze, you can see enhancement of, just prior the onset of sea breeze you can see RH minimum, that is soon after setting your this temperature maxima will be over, that is just prior the sea breeze onset temperature maxima will takes place. So what we can see, the RH minima as well as minimum as well as RH maximum diurnally, it solely depends on the temperature variability of that particular station, whether it is a coastal station or an inland station. Okay, now the fourth one to represent the moisture variable is, already you have seen the term dew point temperature, I think 4. Dew point temperature, it will be expressed by TD. So this is nothing but, say, by keeping the pressure constant, of course pressure for a particular station for a particular time, it will be, can be regarded as or considered as constant. So in this condition, at a constant pressure, the temperature reached by cooling air to saturation is called dew point temperature. That is dew point temperature, that is by keeping or at a constant pressure the temperature reached by cooling the air to saturation is called dew point temperature. What we have to see, all the TD or dew point temperature will always be less than T for RH less than 10% or 100%, and TD will become, or the dew point will become equal to temperature, that is for at saturation, for RH equal to 100. Okay, whenever you have the relative humidity value as 100%, what you can see immediately, the observation, the temperature observation will be nothing but the dew point temperature. Okay, and the dew point temperature again can be computed by using a mathematical equation TD equal to T. You have the temperature minus 100 minus RH the whole divided by 5. This is an approximate relation for greater than 50%, say 50% relative humidity value. This equation is applicable. Okay, so whenever it becomes 100%, no doubt this portion or the second term vanishes and you will get a TD equal to T. And the very last one is, then the fifth one is precipitable water vapor. So precipitable water vapor is the water vapor content in terms of equivalent liquid content expressed in millimeter. Okay, fifth one, the very last moisture variable, that is, in order to define moisture variable through another term is through precipitable water vapor, which is the water vapor content. Water vapor content in terms of equivalent liquid content. So the unit will be measured by millimeter. No doubt this precipitable water vapor, it is not possible to have a measurement directly, that is by using a single independent measuring system or instrumentation. It is not possible to measure the precipitable water vapor because there is some water vapor in the atmosphere. It can be precipitable, that is the equivalent liquid content. So by using or by measurements or the indirect measurement only possible, the measurements. Okay, so measurements through radio sound, that is you are attaching the instrument called radio sound through a rising balloon or meteorological balloon, and you are getting from this radio sound, no doubt of course from this now the recent radio sound will have GPS, global positioning system, this module also, that will provide your wind speed and direction, then pressure, temperature and humidity. So speed, direction, wind speed, wind direction, pressure, temperature and humidity. From that, this computation we can measure the precipitable water vapor amount. Of course, this also through a thermodynamic diagram, or we will call as temperature entropy diagram. Okay, T 5 gram. We are physics people. Definitely, if I am putting 5 means immediately you have to think as 5 is nothing but the entropy and T is the temperature. Temperature entropy diagram. We can compute the liquid water amount. Okay, of course, now several computer related softwares also available for making T5 gram. This T5 gram or temperature entropy diagram only we are using in India, but in several other countries like USA and all, they are using another thermodynamic diagram called Skew-T diagram. Okay, that and all I will take you in the meteorological analysis classes, the temperature and plus meteorology analysis as well as the theory related to that I will discuss in physical meteorology. Okay, radio sound and the Another one, that is radio sound ascents. I am putting as ascents. Okay, already I told through balloon ascents. And another one is sun photometer. Sun photometer and microwave radiometer, another technique. Because this and all microwave radiometer and Doppler weather radar. Okay, then satellite based observation. Satellite observations. Okay, both by using microwave radiometer as well as GPS, global positioning system features, by using GPS satellites. Okay, satellites, these are the various techniques, but no doubt by using radio sound, this is the classical method for deriving the precipitable water vapor, of course, after receiving the pressure, temperature and humidity data by using radio sound or through meteorological high altitude balloon ascents. We must get the pressure, temperature and humidity data. Then this whole analysis process we will do through the temperature entropy diagram or TEFI-gram, like that also people will call. TEFI-gram is the famous temperature or thermodynamic diagram or temperature entropy diagram for analyzing even or forecasting the weather situation over a specific area. Okay, so this is the last one, precipitable water vapor. That is, there are several methods, that is measurement techniques or through instrumentation, radio sound, sun photometer, microwave radiometer, Doppler weather radar, satellite observation. Okay, these and all no doubt latest emerging, and still the lot of research works are going on, specifically in Doppler weather radar derived liquid water vapor amount as well as satellite observation. So with this I will conclude today's lecture session on the moisture variable part of climatology. Okay.